Welcome to Mad About Money, the podcast that is Mad About Money. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout and I am joined by Kim Uzzell, money coach extraordinaire, who does so many cool things and I love everything that she does. Kim has personally helped me on my journey. We've done some really cool things together, and Kim's kind of like my sideline money coach, and she helps me with my mindset and all the things that I'm going through. So she is one of my favourite people, and I'm really pleased to announce that she is with me on this podcast. So Kim, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, how can I follow that? It's like, I feel,
Don't cry.
So loved.
I mean, you could cry, but you are very loved, and I'm really honoured to have you back on again.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So yeah, my name is Kim, and I am a money coach. In fact, we were just talking about what should I be called for the purpose of this podcast, and I do so many things related to money. I help people with their investment mindset. I help people with their general money conversations. I help people with some really deep, dark money trauma stuff, but it all comes under the heading of money. So money coach really is what I am, but it has so many threads, because our money journeys are never simple, are they? They're never one thing. And even if we think they are and they're sorted at the moment, we can bet our bottom dollar that in 6 months' time or a year's time, they're going to be completely different again. So we are never one thing when it comes to our money. We are never a complete work. We've always got challenges being thrown at us. We've always got things that we want to do in life. We've always got new opportunities that we want to go after, new friends that we want to spend time with, new careers or businesses that we want to pursue. And they all come with a financial implication. So, wherever we are on our money journey, one thing we can be sure of is that we're not done with it.
That's so true and so deep. So deep for a Tuesday. I love it. So one of the things that Kim helped me with, and before we go into Kim's money story, I just want to talk a little bit about belief coding, because people don't, I didn't know what it was until Kim told me about it. And I was fairly skeptical about it, but I have to say it's changed my life, which is not a statement that I use lightly. Working with Kim has been so eye-opening for me, because I always used to think that I was bad with money. And I wasn't bad with money. I was a bit reckless with it, but there were some reasons behind that. And they were deeply dark rooted in my soul. And Kim did this thing called belief coding with me, and I'm going to get her to explain what it is in a minute. But we went back as far as me being a baby, and like my relationship with money. I didn't think as a baby I had relationships with money, and I didn't, but it was a relationship with like my parents, and it was a relationship with with me throughout my life, that kind of transpired. And it got to a point that when I was at university, I felt like I had abandonment issues, and my parents had just got divorced, my boyfriend had just dumped me, and I had undiagnosed ADHD, which I didn't really know about, which didn't really help my situation. But I rebelled and I went down this money path, and then Kim fixed me. He fixed me. So now I'm more aware of my own money story, which is crazy. So Kim, tell me a little bit about belief coding.
So we often know that we're not really bad with money. We know what we want. We know what we need to do. We know that if we spend less than we earn, it will be okay. But of course, deeper down, there's that little voice that says, yes, but you don't want to do that. And we believe then something different. So we believe that we're not going to be liked unless we spend money, showering friends with gifts, or we're not going to be loved if we don't volunteer to pay the bill first, or that, we believe that women shouldn't earn vast sums of money in their career, because there are so many things that we have taken along our own journeys. And most of them are not malicious or traumatic as in the traditional sense of the word, but we're taking them in and we're distorting them and we're storing them within us. And then every time we try and make a move that's taking us forward in our money journey to do something better, every time we do our budget sheet or our spending plan and go, right, I know what I've got to do. I know what I need to do to get things back on track. We're great for 2 or 3 days, and then the old belief comes back. oh yeah, here we go again. And I'm a failure. I'm no good with money. Sorting my money stuff out isn't for people like me. Getting rich isn't for people from my background or for my gender or my cultural situation, whatever it might be. There's that little bit inside us that just shouts louder and louder and louder. And that's the voice that holds the strings. And it's not a case necessarily of going in and fixing it. It's a case of going in and understanding where that comes from. Because quite often when we're doing things logically, we attach it to a reason. I'm like this because my dad went bankrupt. And as a result of that, I am responding in this way. Or I'm like this because X, Y, Z. And we keep attaching our behavior in the present time to what we think is the root cause. And quite often that might be part of the issue, but it's not all of the issue, because what we're forgetting is, or what we're not understanding is, that we have lots of other people's money stories as well that are impacting us. So all of those arguments that we heard our parents have around money when we might have been 2, 3, 4 years old, we didn't understand the money bit, but we understood the stress. Now, where did that stress come from? It came from their relationship with money, not ours. It came from their financial upbringing, from their financial disasters or challenges or economic challenges that they were subjected to. And perhaps some of that came from their parents. And if you go back and look at your grandparents' era, it's not that long ago. We've all got stories that we can tell about our grandparents. My beautiful 99-year-old Nana only passed away last year, but she was 99. So the money conversations that we had included her relationship with money around rationing, the depression in the 30s. So many changes in her lifetime that were impacting me in my present. So we need to go and understand some of those things, and then we can deal with them and say, oh, it makes sense now. Now it makes sense. I can deal with it in an appropriate way. And so belief coding works on, what is it that you think you need to address? What is it that's causing you a problem? I believe that I'm just no good with money, or I believe that I can't build a business because people like me aren't successful, or I believe that I can't have a big pile of money because then people will only like me for my money and not for me. So we work on, first of all, what is it that you believe? Not what you know, but what you believe. And then we go and find out, where does that really come from? And how can we, internally understand that and then move on from it in a really positive way? So instead of that little voice saying, yes, but Maddy, yes, but, the little voice is actually saying, fabulous, Maddy, go and do this because you're amazing, and you can go and get those goals. You can go and build that business. You can, go and have those friendships without having to pay every time you go for a coffee.
That's really, it's so interesting. But we have to move on to the money story now. Kim, I'm going to ask you the same that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What is your money story? And I know yours is fascinating because I've heard it before.
So yeah, my money story is like most people's, not simple. And that's one of the things that I would really love people just to understand, that whatever they're going through with their money stuff, they're not on their own. They're not alone. They're not the only ones who have been there. And so, it's really important, because we often think that it is just us. So I came from a very ordinary background, went to a normal school, parents in ordinary jobs. I grew up in the 1970s. Times were hard for pretty much everybody. So, I wasn't from a particularly hard up background, but I certainly wasn't from a well-off. I was just normal, from a normal family, normal situation, dealing with things in a normal way. And I thought I was quite good with money. I was good at maths. I was good at numbers. I was good at earning money on a paper round, a Saturday job, all of those sort of things. So I thought I was pretty good at money. And then I entered into a relationship that then became a marriage of 25 years, where we didn't have together a good relationship with money. We were always trying to fix something in our marriage by spending money on something else. That whole sort of like, I know that this marriage is not fixable, but I believe, again, it's that belief. If only we did this, if we moved house, it will be better. If we had children, it would be better. If we bought a boat, it would be better. If we changed the car, it would be better. You know, if we painted the lounge again, it would be better. There was always
I do think buying a boat fixes everything though, right? Well, clearly not.
We bought a boat, and no, of course it doesn't fix everything, because, you know, we're always looking for that fix. And if it can't be fixed, or if you're addressing the wrong thing, you know, what would it have been that really would have fixed that marriage? It was not how much money we spent, because of course we couldn't afford to spend that money. So we were fixing it by spending it on credit cards and loans, and always then looking for the next way of reducing the stress. And instead of simply saying, this is a relationship that we just have to accept shouldn't be happening, you know, let's part ways, you know, remain friends, you know, go and live a happy life, you know, with other people, which is eventually what did happen. But for that really large period of time, we tried to fix it by simply spending our way out of it. And in fact, all we were doing was borrowing our way into a deeper trap, because then we got to the point where we couldn't afford to leave. Neither of us could afford to leave that relationship, because we had this huge amount of debt. And when I say huge, it was huge. You know, we had over £100,000 on credit cards and loans at a time when we had just sold a 4-bedroom detached house for 97,000.
Oh God.
So, you know, that's the equivalent now of saying, oh yeah, I owe a cool £250,000 or £500,000 or whatever on credit cards. And of course, with that comes all of the stress and all of the shame and all of the secrecy and all of the manipulation, the lies. And you sort of have this face. People saw me as being a stockbroker, a wealth manager. You know, it was all right for me because I had a boat, for goodness sake. You know, I must be doing so well. And actually, I was all the time just wanting to say, if only you knew. If only you knew what was really going on. But of course, pride and not knowing how to have that conversation, or a fear that if you opened up, people wouldn't like you, they'd drop you because you aren't the person that they think you are, or whatever. So you just keep the front going. You accept those invitations out on a Friday night, but then you cancel them at the last minute, always saying, oh, I couldn't get a babysitter, or the car wouldn't start, or, you know, nowadays you'd probably say, got COVID, you know, I can't go. Yeah. Feeling a bit crappy, just done a test, got COVID, better leave it for a couple of weeks. And you sort of breathe that sigh of relief. But actually, again, what you're doing is just creating this pattern of falseness, of manipulation, but it's actually just of survival.
Yeah.
And so that was my real life money story. But of course, what people saw, and they chose to believe, was that I was this really, you know, successful person, that I was clearly well off. So of course they would then say, oh, you know, you can pay. And I didn't want to let them down. So I do that silent prayer as I handed over my credit card, hoping that it would go through, as I paid for lunch again. You know, so all of those things followed me around for so long. And, you know, we repaid everything. The marriage didn't last. Well, it lasted for over 20 years, but, you know, ultimately we did have that realization that nothing was going to fix it. And, you know, we went our separate ways. We worked our socks off to pay the debt. We had lodgers in, we had, you know, 3 or 4 jobs at a time. We were doing any online survey or online, you know, trick. And this is going back 15 years ago, when the internet was in its infancy. So
Yeah.
doing all of these things was really quite novel, and it was almost a full-time job in itself. But we spent every minute of every day getting ourselves out of that pickle, which was admirable. But of course, I hadn't dealt with the fact that all I'd been trying to do was fix something. So as soon as the debt was paid, I had that moment of celebration and a few weeks of feeling, free. But then that little voice, that belief inside me says, yeah, but remember, people like you don't have money. People like you don't become stockbrokers or wealth managers. People like you only have debt. And so my money story, my narrative, just kept coming back. And before I knew it, I was spending on those credit cards again, because I was trying to fix something else, that low self-esteem or that lack of confidence or whatever. So until you actually go really deep and say, what's behind this? What really is behind this? Where does this come from? You'll get out of it and then get back into it. And the cycle just continues. And quite often, the cycle gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because every time we look for that dopamine hit, we've got to, spend more to get it. Or when we pay our credit card bills off again, we then reward ourselves with something even bigger and better, because that's our pattern of behavior. And it was very definitely mine. And working on that inner stuff as well as the practical stuff. You can't do one or the other. And that's where I'm often seen as being different to most money coaches, because I work with a very practical aspect as well, in terms of the spending plans, the working out your hourly rate, the business planning, the tax planning, all of that sort of stuff. But what use is that if that little voice inside you still says, yeah, but Kim, or yeah, but Maddy, remember, you're just no good with money. And it pulls you back again. And likewise, there's no point in manifesting $1 million if you then don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We have to approach it from all angles.
And that it's really important. And having worked through my pricing with you and knowing what I'm charging for things and working out my worth and all these kind of things, it's such a great exercise. And the sort of things that I work with Kim on are very varied, and you are so varied, and that's what I like about you. And you've managed to learn all of these lessons, and the same as me, I guess. Like people always say, oh, you like, and I had somebody the other day on TikTok calling me the shit Martin Lewis. And I was like, I'm nothing like him. So yeah, call me shit if you want, but that's fine. But like, and they said, oh, well, you wouldn't catch Martin Lewis being in debt. And I'm like, no. And that's why he's not relatable sometimes to people, because there's that, like, we've been there, we've done that. Well, I know for sure, I've definitely bought several t-shirts, like several thousand t-shirts, I think. It happens with spending addiction all the time. But we've got that relatable story that's made us so good at what we do. And I think that's really important to kind of grasp onto that, and go out there and tell our stories and tell people why we're so good at what we do, because we've learned on the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And to open that conversation, because there are so many people. When I went through this, I thought I was the only person, certainly one of the only people in my industry that would have been in that position. And I know now, having left the industry and started talking about it on places like LinkedIn and on podcasts and in the press and stuff, that I'm not on my own, and that there are a lot of people who are earning good amounts of money. They're earning decent salaries. They, again, on the face of it, they've got the cars in the driveway, they've got the boat, they've got the children at private school, or whatever it might be, and people think it's all right for you. And actually, they might be going through exactly the same turmoil, and they might still be one payday away from losing their home. They might be one payday away from, or if their relationship breaks down and all of a sudden they've got one income instead of two, they're up shit creek, just the same as everybody else. And yet they are not talking about it because they're afraid that if they open up, then they will not only lose face, but they'll lose their job, or their career prospects have been suddenly annihilated. And yet 70% of people are going to work with money worries. So that's 70% of all income brackets, of all job descriptions, of all ages. So you're not on your own, but you think you are, because you're not talking about it. The person on the desk next to you is not talking about it. The person that you sit next to in the staff room is not talking about it. And yet there's a very good chance that at least 2 out of the 3 of you are worried about exactly the same thing. So if you can have that conversation, then first of all, it's a massive relief to know that it's not just you. Secondly, you can then hold each other accountable. Okay, what can we do this week that's going to help us spend less, make more? Can we WhatsApp each other every night saying, what are you taking in as packed lunch tomorrow? Or can we car share? For, so that we can each half our travel costs. If you don't talk about it, people just have their blinkers on, their heads down, and they are focused on their own lives, which unfortunately includes, for so many people, their own money worries. So we need to talk about it more. And it's only since I left my corporate career that I felt brave enough to talk about it. And since doing that, I've had so many people reach out to me saying, thank goodness, I thought it was just me. It's a big, big issue across the board, every age, youngsters, people just starting out their careers, people almost ready to retire, or people who have just retired, suddenly realizing that they haven't got enough. And then thinking, my life is not worth living because I haven't got enough. So we need to talk. We need to get that conversation going.
And this is exactly why I have launched the Mad About Money app, because people don't talk enough about their debts. They don't talk enough about their problems, about like the money things that, the whole world revolves around money, but yet we don't talk about it. And we don't talk about it because of the shame or the guilt or the fact that we don't want to make our friend down the road jealous that we earn more than them or whatever. Like the more we talk about money, the more money flows, the more in tune we are with how our money works, the more money we can save, the more money we can make. And this is the thing. It's about, and this is why when somebody said to me the other day, they were like, why are you making a social media app all about money? And I'm like, so that people talk about it, because we don't. And that's the thing. And that's why I've collaborated with so many awesome money specialists, so that we can all get on the same page. We can all talk about money and get it normalized in society, because that is so important. And I can't stress enough how much of a difference that would have made to me in my money journey. When I was in £40,000 worth of debt, when you were in £100,000 worth of debt, when we were paying that off, you could have done with a nice little Jiminy Cricket sitting on your shoulder going, you're doing really well, keep up the good work. Today's a bad day, but tomorrow will be better. This is how you can do this. Have you thought about this? And I just think it's going to make such a difference to so many people. I hope it makes a difference to so many people, because that's my why.
Yeah, even just having that conversation, starting that conversation, the ripple effect doesn't happen if you don't drop the stone in the first place.
Yeah.
So we've got to do that first thing in order to get the ongoing responses. If we're waiting for somebody else to do their bit, it might never happen. So what can we do today? Can that be a conversation? Can that be sending somebody a link to something that might help them, a useful site? Can it be dropping in something into a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post that says, basically, you're not on your own.
Yeah.
And there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there are really, good actionable steps that you can take without restricting your life. You don't have to give up everything in order to, be financially stronger. You just have to look at what you're doing, prioritize it differently, understand why you're spending, Are you spending when you're tired? Are you spending when the children have gone to bed and you're bored, so you're just online clicking anything you can from Amazon? Are you spending when you are stressed? Are you spending on a Friday night when your other half, or your ex other half, has got the children, and so you're feeling a bit low? Where are your triggers around spending, and what's behind those? Yeah,
my period I always spend more money when I'm on a period. It's weird, like, but I've recognized that now. So now when I know that I'm due on my period, I make sure that I distance myself from things that are my triggers.
Yeah.
But it's about learning, isn't it? And you can't learn about your money story, and you can't learn about your mindset when it comes to money. You can't learn about saving or investing if you don't start with the talking. So, Kim, how would you recommend that people start those conversations and start being more open about their finances?
So everybody's different in terms of their circumstances. Obviously, some people are single, some people are in families. And if you've got children, start talking to your children about money. Don't just say, we can't have it. Or don't just hand over whatever it is that they're demanding because it's easier. And start to reason with them, or challenge them. You can have this, but you can't have this. If you have this, then your money's gone, and so option B isn't an option anymore. So let's talk about which one is most important and why. Do you want that comic, or do you want those sweets? Do you want this now, or do you want to save up for that next week? So have those conversations, and don't be too quick to just either give in, which we all do when we're tired or whatever, or just simply say no. Because whenever we just go, no, you can't have it, without any explanation or reason, that child is building up their own money story. And what they're then thinking is, I'm not good enough. I'm always told no, I can't have it. But my friend can have it, so I must be less of a person than they are.
Yeah,
because I'm not.
I had to have this exact conversation with Ben the other day, because he started crying because one of his friends had Robux, which is this currency for Roblox computer game. And he said, Matthew's got more than me. Matthew's got Robux, and he can spend them in the app. So I went and spoke to Matthew's mum, and I said, has Matthew got Robux? And she went, yeah, we gave him £10 for his birthday, but he's not spent it yet. So I then had that conversation with Ben, and I went, well, actually, he might be saying he's got them, but he's got them, he's not spent them. So he's in no different situation to you. And Ben was like, oh, okay. Got to have these conversations with kids. I mean, I've got this method, and actually I'm probably going to do a separate podcast on my method for teaching money about kids, because I keep teaching kids about money, because I've got this this method that we use with play money in at home, and my kids are absolutely loving it. It's helping them to save, it's helping them to spend, it's helping them to get a work ethic. It's really good, really good. Anyway, I interrupted. I'm sorry. Carry on.
No, you're fine, because these are all the things that they open that conversation in quite an easy way.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It can be quite playful. If you had £100, what would you do with it, and why? And how would that make you feel if you then spent it and then saw that somebody else had something different, or if you spent it really quickly before you'd shopped around to see what else you could spend your money on?
Yeah.
Knowing that once you've spent that £100 or £10 or whatever it is, it's gone.
Yeah, I asked Ben.
Make it a game.
Ben, yeah, I asked him what he was going to spend his Easter money on, and he said all the Pokemon cards in the world. And I was like, that would be really boring. And then we had a conversation about it, and he was like, maybe I'll just get one pack.
Yeah. And in doing that, what you're doing is making money conversation easy and relevant for the next generation, but it's also making it easier for you. So the more we feel comfortable with talking about money, whether it's with our children or our friends or whatever, we're layering up that new way of behaving. This is comfortable. Money isn't frightening to talk about. I can talk about money. I can. I am. Look at me. Hear me. And so we can do that from a very early age with our children. And the older they get, it just means that we have to navigate it in a different way. And then with our partners, or our flatmates, or whoever we're sharing our bills with, sometimes that can be really difficult, especially if we haven't had that conversation at the outset. If we haven't started off that relationship saying, right, who's going to pay for what? we then fall into this habit, and we don't want to rock the boat by saying, actually, I need you to contribute, please. And an appropriate amount would be X pounds per month.
Yeah.
So sometimes the fear of having those conversations is far worse than having them.
Yeah.
You know, the number of times my clients go away and come back and say, oh, it wasn't nearly as bad. You know, or when Phil moved in with me, you know, we were living in my house that I had bought after my divorce. So he moved into my house, and I just carried on paying the bills. And he offered, but I was like, no, it's okay, it's fine. And then when it wasn't fine, when I really needed that support, I felt that I couldn't go back and say, actually, I'm struggling a bit because bills have gone up, but my salary hasn't. Can I ask you to contribute? And so I carried on trying to manage for so long. And then when I finally said, actually, we need to sit down and talk about this, having built myself up for days, weeks, months, felt quite sick about it, his first response was, well, of course, if only you'd said.
Yeah.
And so often that's the case, is that we assume the response. We talk ourselves out of it because we believe, again, that's that belief thing, that the response is going to be negative. That, you know, instead of giving us some money towards the bills, they're going to walk out of our lives.
Which is barely ever the case, is it? And
that's it.
And you know, I think when I had all of my debt problems, telling my mum was the hardest part, and I thought she's going to disown me. Far from it. She didn't disown me at all. She sat down, she helped me to make a plan. She supported me in the best way by not giving me any money to sort myself out, because I wouldn't have gone on this journey. I wouldn't have learned what I know now about money if she'd have said to me, here you go, Maddy, have £40,000. I mean, not that she had it to give me that. But, you know, I think she probably would have done if she had it, but, you know, she didn't. And I think that was a good thing.
And it would have been a temporary fix. So again, you had that moment of thinking, oh, thank goodness, that moment of relief. And then because the underlying issues, those feelings of, or those triggers and those feelings of earlier abandonment was still there.
Yeah.
You know, you would have gone back into that same spending pattern.
Spending pattern, exactly.
You know, it was never going to be fixed by somebody giving you that money.
No.
So there's a learning aspect of it that we need to go through. And that's why most lottery winners lose all of their money. You know, most jackpot winners, within 3 years of winning the jackpot, 70% of them have lost the lot. And a third of them go bankrupt. You know, they've got this life-changing event, this miracle has happened, but yet their money story dictates what happens next. And for the majority of those people, that's a negative money story. And so that means that their behavior is negative. They're buying their friends' affections. They're giving too much away. They're thinking of other people before themselves. So it's not always out of showing off. It's out of trying to help other people. But if you help other people before you've helped yourself, you know, remember what they say on the aeroplane: in case of emergency, put your oxygen mask on first, so that you can help more people. And it's the same with our money. If we're too quick to give it away out of fear or the goodness of our hearts or whatever, we're the ones who end up empty. And you know, that's not where we want to be. It's not where we deserve to be. So, you know, allow yourself to have that money, because the more you have, the more good you can do, the more you enjoy life, the more, you know, the better a friend you can be, the nicer a person you can be, the less you snap at other people because you've actually had a good night's sleep, because you're not worried about money. The more you can educate your children rather than just snapping at them.
And that really makes so much of a difference. So, like, say, for any lottery winners out there, if you've won the lottery and you want to know what you're doing with your money, go and speak to Kim for sure. Kim, it's been really lovely to have you. I want to know what's next for you.
So for me, I've got two very, you know, very, very important missions. One is to particularly help women become more, you know, financially confident with their money. Because of all of these things that we have been conditioned throughout our lives and our mothers' lives and our grandmothers' lives. We have this huge gender and societal, you know, gap still there when it comes to our behaviours with money and what we feel and what we believe we should be doing. So, I have one mission to get more people, more women talking about money generally, in order to improve their confidence, their financial independence, their ability to have choices in later life that don't rely on anybody else, because we're amazing and we need to be able to be amazing. The other side of my business, the Financial Wellbeing Academy, goes into workplaces and organisations to support businesses in helping their employees make more of their money. Because again, most people assume that if they just have a pay rise, it will be okay. But it's not. It's what's happening with that money. Now, if a business feels pressured to give all its staff an extra pay rise to help with the cost of living, that's great. But if it's not being spent in the right way by the employee, because they're still working to an old money story, then they could give pay rise after pay rise after pay rise, and there still won't be any
change
money left in the bank at the end of the month, and they'll still be living payday to payday. So trying to do that education piece and that support piece, and to say, look, what's really going on here? And if your employer gives you an extra couple of £1,000, what are you going to do with it? How can we make those changes? Or why are you just going to spend it on more of the same stuff that you don't need, because you're still trying to fix something that can't be fixed? So taking that money conversation to businesses so that they can support their staff with their well-being, because if they're going to work with that stress, that's impacting on their productivity, their job satisfaction, their relationship with their colleagues. And then if you go home from work at the end of the day and you're miserable because you've had a bad day at work, what do? You snap at your partner and you spend more money. So we need to crack these vicious cycles. So those two quite separate, but one's no less important than the other. And my two missions, along with just trying to fix the world generally in terms of its finances. Small thing.
Well, let's do it. We can all do it together.
One conversation at a time.
Stronger together, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. So Kim, where can people find you?
Okay, so come and look on my websites. They are the financialwellbeingacademy.com and mymoneymovement.co.uk. So go and hunt those out. There's some resources on there if you need some support. There's links to ways of working with me, different ways of working with me, whether you're a business or an individual. And if you are a woman who wants to get confident with her money, come and join my Facebook group, which is Money Talk and Coffee. So just pop that in the search engine on Facebook and come and find me. And there will be people there who are in the same position as you, wanting to make more out of their money. And just as it says, it's Money Talk and Coffee. Very relaxed, but we want to get that conversation going so that you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you feel secure in talking about it. And I'm all over socials, LinkedIn and Instagram and the whole kit and caboodle, because it's a really important thing to be talking about. So wherever you are, my name is quite unusual, so it's not too difficult to find me. So come and connect. Let's get that conversation started and let's get that ripple effect going even further.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Kim. So thank you everybody for listening to today's episode. If you've found us in the Mad About Money app, you're in the right place because you are already talking about money. If you are watching this on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music or any of the other random podcast places that this appears, even just on Facebook or whatever, make sure that you download the Mad About Money app. It is completely free to use. You can get help to spend less, make more, and enjoy your money more. So this has been the Mad About Money podcast. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout. We will see you next time.